Welcome to the Authenticity Calling podcast. I am your host, Relitza Spasova. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by leadership coach Jose Pereira. Jose was wrongfully detained and held captive in Venezuela for nearly 5 years, from 2017 to 2022. He was one of the members of the so-called Citgo Six. His only crime was that he was American. Before he was taken hostage, Pereira spent 35 years as an oil company executive and CEO of Citgo Petroleum. I'm not going to dive deep into that story because I think there's many interviews out there, Jose, about you, about your story, about your experience. So people can find all of that, but I want to focus more on what you're doing now, which is a leadership and executive coach, which is so exciting, and congratulations. And I'm so grateful that you're here with us today. And thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And I think in our conversation before, it didn't take long for us to warm up to each other and figure out that our lives have actually likely crossed paths many times, but we never really met. So I used to live in Aruba. We have, I have a child that has a soccer tournament. His grandchildren do. And I told Jose, he really reminds me of my dad so much. So it's almost like talking to an uncle.
And I'm talking like a niece.
Yeah.
By the way, when we were talking about your experience in Aruba and my son being in Aruba, my grandson studying in the same school that you were teaching. So yeah, a lot of coincidence. Yeah.
So many. Yeah. Then those are things that, I call them synchronicities. Those are those divine moments that you just can't ignore, where the universe says, you're meant to connect with this person. Trust me. Here's the evidence. So yeah, I'm just so grateful for that. So Jose, please tell us a little bit about your life now, what you do, how you sort of have honed your energy, your lessons, and your experience, and then what is it exactly that you do, and then we'll kind of go back about that experience, and I just have a few questions about,
You said it well. I have gone through a lot of interview about my experience, and anyhow, there's something that happened to me. But the thing is that I decided to use that experience of being a hostage to convert what today I am, because I did this long career in the oil and gas where I really always was in leadership position.
Yeah.
So when I came back, I said, okay, you went through this situation, but you have this experience, and now you have this experience, and what experience. And that's why I decided to combine both, because leadership and resilience is a perfect marriage.
Yes.
You cannot be a leader if you're not a resilience person. So that's why I decided to combine both experience, and I'm a leadership and resilience coach. So that's my coaching program is based on that. My coaching program is called Life Pills for a Survivor Guide, LPSG, and it's basically based on that. How you can be a resilient leader, how you can survive any adversity and anything in your business and in your life. So that's basically that in essence.
Yeah, and that is right there what I call life alchemy, right? You're a life alchemist because you've taken your past, you've taken sort of that story of what happened to me, and you've turned it into your strength and what happened actually for me, and how can I use that to now support other people, to be in service, to really use that, use those moments of lessons and turn them into your strength and your guide, really, is what it sounds like.
Correct.
Yeah.
The other day I was thinking, I was invited to do a speaking, and they asked me to talk about the 4 tools that I discovered in this, and I began to think of that. I said, "Wow, Jose." So this for me, the situation I went through in my captivity, was like a social lab. It became a social lab. The things that I experienced there, that really you can replicate to any business, because we situations there that today I can tell any business, I went through this situation. If you do this will be your results. So that's the way I decided to craft this message.
So that's actually really powerful and important. And I told you, I usually don't think about what I'm going to ask people on these interviews, on this podcast, because I just trust what comes through. But as it was the days leading up to this podcast, I thought to myself, and I had a few conversations, and one of them was exactly that. What are those lessons? What are those, I guess, taking it back to your leadership skills, and what did you take from your leadership skills that you actually needed to apply to help you survive in those 5 years? And I'm sure in the moment you thought, any day now, this is going to be over. Day 1, day 2, day 3, someone's going to come. Day 4, day 5, day 6, year 1, year 1.5, year 2, year 3, and it just kept going. So to me, that I can't even imagine myself in a situation. And I reflect sometimes to people that we've been living in jail cells. So many people, we live in the jail cell of the limitation that we pose upon ourselves. But you were literally in a jail cell with how many other men?
We were 6, but the first year I was totally isolated.
Wow.
Because the first year they separate the 6. So I was alone 1 year.
Wow.
1 year alone and 1 year incommunicated. Not only communicated without knowing about my family, without not knowing what day was. It was day, it was night, with the light turned on. So at the beginning, I was counting the days. But at some point, I lost the sense of time. So I decided to leave it in the hands of God, to tell you the truth. So what lessons I learned? Let me tell you something. The first thing that I learned is because at the beginning, when you're going to any situation, and this can be done to anything in your life, even if you're in front of a company, you're having a problem in front, and you can maybe have problem how to deal with that. But when you decided to be first calm and focused in the situation, that begins to change the situation, because you step back, you begin to see more clear, and then you can begin to realize 2 things: the things that you can control and the things that you cannot control. Now you separate the thing that you can control and the thing that you cannot control. The thing that you can control, you try to see how you can overcome it. The ones that you cannot control, you cannot do nothing. You only are aware that is your situation. So I understood in that moment, okay, Jose, this is what is going with you. So I understood that I was in a place, I didn't know how long it was going to last, and that changed my mindset. Because there comes another thing. You had to change your mindset. You had to be positive. Even if you're going in a dark moment, even if it's in your life or in your business, you had to try to think in a positive way. And let me tell you, thinking positive always is a game changer, because you see the things always more clear. And sometimes you have a solution in front of you and you don't see it. Okay? Yeah. The other thing that I learned there is that after 1 year, I could talk with my family and we were put together. So that also was a game changer for me, because now I'm connected. Now I was having that strong bond with my colleagues, and I was having opportunity to at the beginning was a very few calls, but we begin to get allowed to receive food from our family. That's where my son flew from Aruba to Colombia. He was living in Aruba and he moved to Colombia to provide me food, because in Venezuela, people were starving. Yeah. We were starving too.
I remember that time, yeah.
Yeah, it was tough moment. That was 2018. If anybody goes to Google Venezuela 2018, I think it was the worst year ever.
I remember people were coming in boats to Aruba.
Yeah,
Coast guards were watching. Yeah,
we're literally starving to death, and we were starving. I lost 100 pounds. So my family decided to ask my son to move from Aruba to Colombia, and he began to provide me food from Colombia to Venezuela. So somebody grabbed the food, prepared it, and sent it to me. For me, it was not only the food that I was beginning to receive. So it was because I began to smuggle letters inside of that. When I was returning the trash cans, I began to smuggle letters with my wife. And those letters, let me tell you, I stayed doing it during 3 years, and it became like 1,000 letters between her and me, and that is the base of my book. Is going to be out like in 3 weeks, and my letters became my memoir, and I converted that in my book.
Wow.
So yeah, I have pile of letters that my wife compiled it. She put it in Word, and that is the base that I used to write my book.
Wow.
So having the opportunity to begin to write letters was another game changer, because now I'm connected to my family. I begin to have the communication. It began to me like a tool of hope, that
Mm.
every 2 or 3 days I was waiting to have the reply of her. And it began to be like an excitement moment. I was always waiting to get the moment to receive her letter, answer her back. So I was like in that back and forward during 3 years.
Mm.
We did that during 3 years.
Talk
So,
about romance and love, hey?
well, it's kind of
It is.
a love story between my wife and me. Yeah. So anything in your life, if you're in a business or in your personal life, never do things alone. Connect with the people that love you. You have to connect with the people that love you. And if you're in a business, connect with your colleagues, connect with your peers, connect with your employee. Sometimes when you're in a CEO position, you get isolated, and you and you create like a shell, and you get isolated, and there's where you get that disconnection.
That's
So
right.
you need to connect with the people, because this is the way it has to be done. This is that true leader. That's what it does. Connect with the people. The other thing that I discovered during this situation was taking care of my mental and physical health, because we begin to in that tiny place. It was funny because we every day we were doing like 2 or 3 hours exercise. We were doing yoga, meditation, static running, push-up, cardios. We were like hamster in a cage doing things, but we did it in a daily basis. Every day we were doing exercise. We did like a routine, and we begin, because at some point we were allowed to have book to read. I was writing, and we were begin to pray, to read the Bible, and even having fun. We began to play domino. We began to have a domino tournament. So today, this is something that I also tell the people that I'm coaching. You need to take care of your health, the physical and your mental health, yours and your employees. So this is so important. Doing things like doing tournaments in your company, doing tournaments, doing barbecues. They try to make that connection. This is something that really a good leader can connect with. At the end, you're human being. Because the way you connect is because we all are human beings.
That's right.
One of the things, Melissa, that I discovered there, because I was with a political prisoner in Venezuela, a lot of militaries, a lot of intellectuals, a lot of religious, a lot of HR, human rights advocate, etc. High-profile people, but we were all in the same place. And we connected with people. I knew their families, their kids. They are normal people.
Yeah, your human doing. We talk a lot about our human doing at work, and a lot of people, that's why I asked you before we even started the interview. I said, do you really want me to read all of this? Because we do, we tie our human doing so much to who we are. And truly, it's about our human being first. And I love that reflection that in that cell, it doesn't matter who you were. It matters
I
who
can
you
tell you,
are.
with me, I had with me a general, with a 3-star general. He was in the cell beside me, and I having another a high-profile politician that I always saw him in the news. And now we were the three there in the
Brothers.
same
Yeah.
brothers,
Yeah.
comrades,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. My son is actually watching it. It's an old show that's now on Netflix, Cobra Kai, and it very similarly compares people who are at very much at odds, and they have to come together and work together. And it's just so interesting when you have a similar purpose, which is in your case survival, right?
Yeah.
It's
All were in the
value and
same page.
connection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to do the connection. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And so many times I think in our world we believe the story that we're supposed to be competing, when really I personally do not believe in competition. And that's why I don't allow that there's jealousy, there's envy, there's all the different things. To me, it turns into, I see someone doing something, it's inspiration. If I have a sense of, oh, they're doing it bigger than me, to me, that means, oh, okay, there's a little part of me that believes I can't have it. So let's switch that around. Like you said, mindset is so important. Yeah.
Yes.
For
And
someone, yeah.
yeah, let me finish.
Please.
The last thing that is the most important, I don't want to
Yes.
leave it, connect to your spirituality.
Yes. Yes.
This is the most important because I couldn't live without saying it. The last thing that you have to do is connect with your spirituality.
Yes.
Whoever you believe,
Yes.
you need to connect that, because that's what gonna make you on top that inner force that you have inside yourself, and that's what is gonna allow you to survive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's how strong spirit is. You can never forget that one, right? It's like,
Yeah.
wait. Let's dial it back, because this is
Yeah.
one of the most important things that, honestly, in healthcare, I come from a background in medicine, and I always say to everybody, we're ignorant at best when it comes to people's spirituality. And I really do believe that's one of the most important pieces of our health is our
Correct.
mind, body, and spirit. And we
Yes.
can't have optimal health if we ignore that part. It's so
Correct.
much of what drives us. It's so much of what, we need to survive, but also to thrive. It sounds like you took, it almost sounds like a retreat. People pay to go on retreats for a week or two and do the things that you
I
did.
can tell you today, I believe I was in a 5-year retreat.
Yeah. I know it's wild to say now, but
Man, it
it
was a
felt
long
that
retreat,
way.
but yeah, it was like a retreat. Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say? So you had a lot of skills going into that experience. What would you say that you took from that experience and really made it your gift? Like how did that experience happen for you? You took us through kind of the activities that you went through and what you did on a daily basis and what helped you to survive and keep, strong and your strength through the process. Looking back now, what would you say were your top lessons from that experience?
Well, that anything in your life you can overcome it. There's no way. Today, anybody that tell me no, I cannot do it, I will say, my friend, you're wrong.
Yeah.
A life testament, the thing can be done. Relixa, I lost 100 pounds. I had 2 times scabies. I suffered pneumonia. I suffered bronchitis. I suffered a heart attack. I stayed 3 days in coma. I fainted. I had 2 times COVID, and I'm here. So I can tell you, I went through so much that to tell you the truth, today, I don't know how I'm here, but I'm here. So anybody that tell me, no, I cannot do this, friend, you're wrong.
Yes.
You can.
I can tell you why you're here. You have a big, big, big mission and calling. I definitely hear that. And your book is one thing that people can go to, and I'd love to ask you more about that. But to me, your strength and your resilience, that resilience, I hear so many people, and I hate to polarize it, men and women, but I think especially men in our generation, women have been forced through the last 20, 30, 50 years to really, there was no choice. It was resilience or bust. But I feel like that focus has been taken away, and that sort of space for men to really own their power and their safety and their leadership. There's so many women in leadership now, and for sure resilience is so important. But I hear also this calling to call men forward. And maybe that's because I have a son, and that's why it's personal for me and it's so important. But I do think that there's an element, and I'm hearing more from men, this need for learning actually and honoring resilience. And I love that you're a resilience coach. So what would you say to people in the realm of resilience? They're in that moment where they feel like they just can't do it anymore. There's too many things, they just want to give up. What's your words of wisdom?
It's a matter that really is a very personal choice first. So if you're an alcoholic, the first thing that you have to recognize that you're an alcoholic. Okay, it's the same. If you're a guy that really you say, okay, I'm not gonna make it, the first thing that you have to recognize that you're having a problem. Once you recognize that you're having a problem, have the decision to change.
Mm-hmm.
Once you have that real decision to change, and then comes how you can be retrained. Because the good thing that today, and this is something that I'm not saying because I'm an expert. I have a friend that she's a neuroscientific, and she's specialized in study of the brain. The brain can be retrained.
Yes,
You can.
the brain is very plastic.
That is officially scientifically proved.
Yeah, we know.
And your brain, even if you have a lot of beliefs during all your life, you can retrain it.
Yes.
But it had to have the disposition to do it. So once you do it, you can begin to retrain your brain. And there's where it comes the change. When you decide to go in all this path, the situation becomes to change.
That's right.
And really sad today that I'm a more spiritual guy. I see that when you begin to vibe, you it begin to it's like a law of attraction that
Yes.
the good things begin to come to you.
That's right.
So I don't know how to say it because maybe it's not so scientific to say it, but it's true.
Yeah.
You begin to work that way. That when you decided to do things different, all your situation will begin to change.
Yes.
So there's where it comes the resilience. And now you were talking about men. Yeah, that is so true. That the men today, unfortunately, not only are having problems with the resilience. Another thing worse is that sometimes they don't talk about these things. For example, in the Spanish culture, it's a big issue that because you're a macho, you cannot talk about.
The machismo is so strong. It's so toxic.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're a macho guy, so you don't talk. You cannot be vulnerable.
Yeah.
You cannot talk about this, so you have to be a macho. So there's a lot of trauma outside there.
Yeah.
One thing that for me was a total rediscovery, because when I came back, I always say that I came like in a time machine. You know, I had 5 years in a cage, and one day they opened the door, and I went out, and I found a post-pandemic world that at the beginning I didn't recognize it.
Wow.
For me, was what happened here?
Yeah, a bomb dropped, everyone disappeared. Yeah.
What happened here?
Yes.
The people, I don't know, do they, for a tiny reason, they think that their world are crumbled. Come on. So really, really, the people today, I don't know what happened, that the pandemic put the people more, I don't know, it's more sensitive, more reactive to this situation. Yeah. But we had to come back to that. The people really, they had to be more resilient. So that's why that resilience is so important.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And there's a lot of talking about that. Today's a lot of talking about that.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. And you're right. You know, I haven't thought about pre and post, but when you put it that way, because you missed the in between.
Because the people that didn't go through the process I went, were in the process. So maybe
you didn't have the training.
See it. But for me, it was like coming in, boom. Yeah. I saw it. For me, it was really shocking. The first impact was really shocking.
Yeah. But you came in strength. You came ready. You came ready to battle. Like you came ready to.
Because I
yeah.
was, you know, at some point I had the opportunity to have a radio there. And when I was hearing the radio, always hearing about that, interviewing people that were suffering, they're having one month lock. I said, man, I had 3-4 years here. Come on.
Can you imagine? I did contact tracing at one point, and I remember people would say, oh, I'm stuck at home. And I said, great, turn this into a little mini staycation. You're home. This is the time that you never took away before. Do some reading, do some deep breathing, take a walk around your neighborhood, because you were allowed to walk around outside as long as you stayed away from people. It was exactly what you were saying, you know, slow down, have a positive mindset, read, write, you know, do the things that the physical, you know, move your body, be human, remind yourself how human you are.
I did that in a daily basis, like a routine, and like a daily routine, and that days begin to pass fast. Fast. So you say counting the days. No, at some point I didn't have time to count days because we were always doing things.
You're on the circuit.
Sorry, I came back, and one day they opened. Hey, you're gone. Okay, bye.
Wow. So if somebody was stuck in a space, and I wanna dial it back and ask about vulnerability a little bit, because I think what you said really resonated even for me. I don't think it's just, the like the sort of that machismo culture. For me, I came from communist Bulgaria, and there I was born there. I came to Canada when I was 3, so I didn't really grow up in it, but my parents did. They were born and raised in communism. And so a lot of those qualities and characteristics I took on. You don't
Mhm.
have time to be sad. You don't have time to communicate about what concerns you have or what worries you. It's like you just push through and move on to the next thing.
Move on.
Yeah, and so for me, having that vulnerability is also, it's something that I work on every day, because I know that it's my strength. I know that opening up and being authentic to my pain points, authentic to what's challenging for me, speaking on that, connecting with people, it is so powerful and transformative. And so I do want to kind of go back to that. Maybe we'll go there now, since I took it back anyways. What would you say to people who have challenges with their vulnerability? What's one thing that they can do, or maybe their loved ones can do? Maybe it was someone checking in, but to shift that culture that it's not safe to be vulnerable.
Do, do it. Just do it. Just be vulnerable. Let me tell you, Relisa, today I'm so open to talk about this. I don't care. I
Yeah.
don't care. So for me, that has been part of my healing process. By the way, when you decided to be open, you heal
Yes.
anything you have inside. I have my therapist. I do every Thursday. I have a therapy session since I came back. My therapist today is my friend.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I did hang out in the room and I invited her. She was my guest.
Oh, that's so nice.
And she has he tells me that one of the things that really have been helping me a lot in my healing process is because I decided to talk about this.
Yes.
And I opened my wife, my wife, I got surprised how she now talks about this. I encourage her to write her book and to become a speaker.
Yes.
I really want her to begin to speak about this because she's Venezuelan, and in the Hispanic culture, nobody talks about this.
That's right.
So I told her, Mervis, you went through this situation. You're not resilient. You're
Mm,
super.
exactly.
And now you have the opportunity to spread that message
Yeah.
that can help others.
Yes.
So I'm encourage her to do that.
Wow. There are so many people, and that actually again gives me chills, because having that voice, having that elder, having that matriarch to speak hope into you when you're in a relationship that feels hopeless, whether it's, a toxic, abusive relationship. I was in that myself. Having someone to speak to you and remind you it's okay, you're going to make it through this. That is so powerful. And so many women don't have that. It's like day for day, you just make it through. But even people that, they have strong leaders as partners, for example, whether it's men or women, doesn't really matter the dynamic. But I think it's especially important because it is a lonely road. Being a leader and being an executive and being in those leadership positions, it does take a lot of work. People have this false idea that, oh, leaders just sit around and like have coffee and tea all day.
Because
It's like,
people
no.
that if you're in a leader position, you have all the answers, and you're a superhero, and you're a human being at the end. You really, because a leader has to recognize that he has a strengths, because that's why he's the leader, but he always also has some weakness.
That's right.
So those weakness you have to be vulnerable, recognize that you have it, and have help. So this is the other thing, that sometimes you have your team and you don't unlock their potentials. So
Yes.
you need to unlock the potential of your team. So if they bright, you shine, brighter, because if they shine, you can be brighter.
That's right.
So that is so important, that sometimes, as I said, you create like a shell.
Hmm.
You create like a shell. So I'm here in the top. I have the shell, and I get isolated, and I navigate this alone. There's where the leaders get burned out.
That's right. And when
They're
it's all on me, this idea that it's all on me.
yeah, on me,
Actually,
yeah.
true leaders, they rely on their team, right?
Always, always. That real leader, the real leader is that they get that connection with their team, they empower them, and those teams feel that their leader is their model, they
Yeah.
inspire them, and that's where that great team come.
Yes. Yeah. Beautiful.
Talk about the example of that movie Braveheart. Do you remember the movie Mel Gibson that he
I
was in the
probably saw it when I was like 5 years old.
that that is a leader inspiring his team because he was always in the front row. So that's what a good leader does. He puts in the front row and push everybody to go in the same direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you work with leaders, what are the top I guess takeaways or the top turnarounds or the top qualities that they're able to embrace and embody after working with you? Like what are those tools that you give them?
Communication,
Mhm.
be more empathic, and be more human being. This
Mm,
be more empathic, be more better communicator, and be more human being, connect with the people.
okay.
So this is what I tell them. I'm a people guy. I always have been a people guy. So for me, it's natural to be a people
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
So for me, telling them sometimes it's difficult there because sometimes the leader has problem is because in their past there are some traumas.
Yeah.
So that is kind of a protection. It's
Mm-hmm.
a way to get protected. So I don't connect with the people because maybe he has some trauma in the past. I discovered that sometimes in your past there are some events that you don't remember because that's the brain. The
That's
brain
right.
protects. So, for example, when I begin to do this therapy with my therapist, she began to do regressions with me. And because I was having some PTSD events,
Mm-hmm.
and she made me go back to my jail
Mm-hmm.
to visit the Jose that was in the jail
Mm-hmm.
and hug him and tell him,
That's right.
hey, you're freed, let it go. Now you can move on.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody goes on that and goes back to his memories and go back the things that maybe hurt him in the past, that can make him be a better person and a better leader. Because
Mm-hmm.
the end is being better person, be more human being, and that will be an immediate connection with the people.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you, Relisa, I didn't discover this during my situation. I really reaffirmed it because
Wow.
during my 35-year career, for some reason, I always worked with very multicultural environment because I working with joint ventures.
Mm-hmm.
Always was working with international workers, Japanese, Italian, Norwegians,
Mm-hmm.
British, Americans, Chinese,
Yeah.
Vietnamese, a lot of cultures.
Yeah.
And working with them was kind of difficult because there are beliefs, there are cultures, there are religions, there are a lot of things
Mm-hmm.
there. But you connect with the people when you begin to treat everybody as human being. That is where
Right.
everybody connects. That is
That's
where,
right.
because at the end we are human beings.
That's right. We're so much more similar than we are different. Yeah.
Yes, we're
Yeah.
similar but different. Yes. Mhm.
Absolutely. And it's something you said about the trauma. So first I just want to speak to that. So that I think gives a you might not know it because you've been through it and you're very accepting to therapy. But I would hope that this would give someone who's in a situation where they feel trapped or stuck or alone at least a little glimmer of hope or light that, oh wait, maybe therapy is for me. So if you're thinking maybe, just give it a try because you might not land on your person that resonates with you, your therapist, your coach, whatever that might look like, your counselor, but at least try. Start to reach out and see where there's that connection because it is so, so important. And when
Yes.
you say, go back to that place and give yourself what you needed, I actually support people in unconscious reprogramming. We just did this yesterday in the women's mastermind, where you go to the part of you that says you can't do it, and you name that part of you and you let that part speak, that part always has a value for you, right? But doing it alone can be really tough. So it's
Oh,
really important to have that guide. It's almost like that spirit person that walks hand in hand with you and says, do you know what? I've got you. You're not going to get lost. Let's do this together. That is so important, because those are scary places to go for people. Those are the deepest, darkest, beliefs, those rooted in some
you're
kind of.
you literally are in an emotional jail.
That's
So
right.
you're being affected too.
But you're constantly there, whether you do something about it or not. Like you said, it's unconscious, it's there. You're living out of that emotional jail. So not addressing it, that ignorance is bliss, it's actually not. It guides every decision you make, you just don't realize it. But when you address it, what kind of freedom do you experience after one of those moments where you're able to give yourself that hug and that freedom? Like, what is your, I know I've experienced it for myself. I'm curious about what is the benefit for you of going to therapy?
Let me tell you that it has not only emotional, even it's physical. When I came back, I went to a trauma center here in the U.S. By the way, I became friend of the director of the trauma center. He's going to be one of the prologues of my book. Okay, so
Amazing.
yeah. We really made a great connection, and he really was explaining me situation we went through in our captivity, the way we handle it. He was saying, Jose, the way you handle things, try to always be thinking in positive things and doing positive things, and always do replying and doing a routine that keep your thoughts in your brain was always turned on. So all the influx of cortisol that should be flowing to your amygdala now is not there, because when you're in that, and you know them better than me, that when you're in that situation, you're always the influx of cortisol in the amygdala. So you're literally poisoning your body when
Yes,
you're doing that. You're poisoning your body. So not, it's not only emotional relief, it's a physical relief.
that's
So
right.
now you're having an emotional relief, and maybe most of the illness that you can be having can even disappear.
That's right. That's right. I didn't say
Can
it.
even,
Jose said it. You're absolutely,
okay, maybe
absolutely
I
on
don't.
point. I don't speak about spirituality and health and healing just for that sort of potential conflict of interest in the work that I do, because I do support healthcare, and healthcare is Western medicine is very different from the way that my understanding. That's why I don't practice clinical medicine, but the transformation's happening. It really is truly happening. It's going into that team-based care, that sort of, we're seeing the bigger picture. We're seeing the whole person care, how important family is, how important nutrition and exercise are.
Because this trauma center that I went, this guy that I said that they were friends, they had that holistic view.
I love it.
Had a holistic view. By the way, he told me that the Western medicine is broken. Unfortunately, it's
We
broken
know
because
that already.
why the ancient and
Yeah,
the ancient health. That's why it's so important, because
that's
they
right.
go to the roots. You
That's
know
right.
the importance of that. They have that holistic view.
That's
So
right.
yeah, that is true. That is true. That is
Holistic
true.
health is so, so, so important. So important. I love that you share that, and that is, really your message, and what resonates for me and what comes through for me is, yes, you were trapped in that physical space, but I think a lot of people, they do experience the same exact pattern that you just shared. It's that fear, that constant fear response that the reptilian brain is always on. We
Mhm.
don't access our cortex, our mammalian brain, our neo-mammalian brain enough to even connect with our spirituality, because our spirituality requires us to center ourselves, to calm down, to open up our whole, access to that higher order thinking. But we need to first slow down to get there.
Correct.
And it's so, so, so important. Thank you for sharing that. That was really, really powerful, and just a reminder that all of us in our society, as evolved as you think you might be, there are moments where we're under stress, we're under pressure, and we do have a choice. And it's that personal responsibility, that choice to turn it around. like you said, flip the switch on and just do the thing in a what if in the positive way instead of a what if in the negative way. And I have to say, for me, growing up with my parents, that was one thing that I had to really change when I moved away. I thought, wow, my thinking is so poisoned into what's the worst thing that could happen, why I shouldn't do this thing because it could go this way, which is the negative side, right? And so I think that has really in my childhood and even in decisions that I made growing up. I got accepted into engineering. I just posted about this today, and I saw, oh, there's only three women out of 250 students, right? I went to the engineering firms. They were doing like the over capacity parking. They weren't doing serious projects. And I thought, I could never do this. I could never be under someone's thumb and doing administrative work after going to school for this kind of a career. And so I thought, that's not going to work for me. But even that, it was rooted in that limited thinking. I didn't believe, oh no, I'm going to be the change in this place. I am being called with my strong voice of what's possible, right? I didn't have that thinking. It was very small thinking. And so I think we sit in jail cells in our minds, in our bodies, and in our spirits all the time. And
Yes.
your story, it reflects that moment of hope where you can say to yourself, you know what, enough is enough. I'm done. I'm making the choice, the decision to make my life different. And that is a choice that every single person can make, no matter what your experience is.
And that's so true because even in our situation, as I said, the first year we were totally isolated, and at some point I was in a very dark place.
Yeah.
By the way, I knew that people that committed suicide, they didn't make it. They didn't make it. Unfortunately, some guys that I met there went through that situation. So when I at some point I said, Jose, enough is enough.
Mm.
Stop here and move on and
Mm.
move on. So that is the same thing that anybody that's going in any situation, again, in your business or in your life, at some point you have to say stop and move on.
That's right.
Move.
That's right. Otherwise, it's insanity. Trying to get somewhere different, doing the same thing. Thank you, Einstein. Such a good reflection. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. So I want to take it back, something you mentioned, and I wrote down mirror. So something you mentioned about being a good quality and effective leader, right? Being a resilient leader, but also being a powerful and vulnerable leader. I see that all the time in our company, and it gives us permission. So when our leaders are able to be vulnerable, when our leaders actually say, oh, I have to go for pickup, it's like, oh, right, we're all human. We're all trying to juggle all of the things. And if they can do it, I can do it. So from the side of really true leadership, I think leaders inspire everyone to find their leadership within themselves. And I think that's why the company that I work with is so amazing, because it inspires everyone's leadership.
Oh, that's
But
great.
that goes back to coaching for me. So when I think about coaching, the premise or sort of the theory that I believe in is that life is a mirror, and you can only attract people at the level where you are. And so if you as a leader choose to evolve and you choose to be vulnerable, and maybe that's a growth edge for you, that vulnerability, that will actually, first of all, other people will see that permission. They'll be given permission within themselves to be vulnerable and to be able to look at their shadows, to grow and evolve.
Because you're going to be inspiring them. Yeah, of
That's
course.
right. But also, it's because if you have it, it's likely that you've attracted a team of people who have similar shadows. So when you work on your shadows a little bit more vulnerably and a little bit more openly, that will actually invite your team to evolve. And together, you get to step it up a notch. Together, you get to work towards something bigger,
Coach.
right?
Yes.
So I think it's really important to highlight that when we look at our team, for example, and we want to point a finger at their weakness or something that they're working on, it's probably something that we were stuck in not too long ago that we can actually inspire the change, but it's also calling us to evolve into that as well. So,
Yeah.
and a lot of times when we see something in someone that we don't like, it's actually because we don't like it in ourselves, right? And that's
When you point, one finger is pointing the other, but the other three are pointing to you.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, exactly. I just told my son that the other day, and he was like, "What do you mean? I don't get it." I said, "Look at your fingers, right?" He's like, "But
Pointed.
what does But what does it mean? I said, it means that that part of yourself bothers you. That's why you see it in other people so obviously.
You're
Carl
protected.
Jung, that's right.
Yeah.
You project it. That's right. And so, yeah, it is that taking that personal responsibility, I think is so, so important.
I believe that when you're in a leadership position and you are vulnerable, that opens sometimes that leader is not vulnerable because think that if it's gonna be vulnerable, is gonna be open.
That's right.
The people have that fear, but really when you are vulnerable, uh, the people can connect more with you, and you are inviting them to be vulnerable too.
That's right.
And there's where you begin to connect, because let me tell you something. Now you can know more their personal life. You can know what their families, what there's going in their family. So you begin to create more connections.
That's right.
Felix, when I came back, I opened my Facebook account in less than 2 months. I had more than 5,000 followers, and
Wow.
almost that's, I believe, like 70 or 80% are ex co-workers that I had in the
Wow.
people that worked with me in the past.
Yeah.
When they knew that I was out and that I opened my Facebook, even I began to pop up, appear, and today I have like a bunch of pulse in my Facebook.
Wow. That's so
And
beautiful.
and one day I received an invitation from somebody that worked with me like 30 years ago in a joint venture with a Japanese company. And now I'm in a WhatsApp group with people that worked with me 30 years ago. And
Wow.
start posting photos of their grandkids. Now everybody now is grown up 30 years
Mm.
after.
Yeah,
Why? Because we became friends.
that's right.
We became friends.
Yeah.
At the
Yeah.
end, we become friends because that person's, not all of them, but most of them, today I feel them like family.
Absolutely. Yeah. But when you open and connect with your hearts, that's the beauty of connection, right? Is it's not
Mhm.
about we'll do our human doing so much better if we connect heart-centered first. And
Yes.
as as we're doing our work towards truth and reconciliation here in Canada and BC specifically and in healthcare, that is one thing I have definitely learned, and it is so powerful, and I embrace it so deeply because it is so different coming into a meeting, especially on Zoom, when people just say their name and their title. I don't remember any part of that. Like I don't remember them at all. I remember the face, but nothing that they said because there's no connection. Whereas when we come truly heart-centered, honoring the land, the territory, our place in the world, our history and how we got here, our human being before our human doing. It's like, why, how did I end up here? Well, I came from this and this and that. You hear the person's their story, their heart, their soul, their mission, right? And then you
Mhm.
connect. It's like, then you have this access to their world where you didn't have that with, I'm so and so, and this is what I do. It's like, it's not the same thing.
For me, something that has been, I can say, I mean, I'm enjoying that discovery, because during my corporate work, when I was in the oil and gas, I was like living in a cluster, you
Hmm.
know, always in a cluster. So now that I came back and I begin to be more in social media, I begin to get invited to these networking events. So now I feel that you can really have true connection, even
Yes.
if virtual,
Yeah,
even if virtual, you
absolutely.
begin to get great connection, because the people, for me, it has been a discovery,
Yeah.
and it has been a wonderful discovery. That's the way I met you.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah,
That's
that
the
is.
way we met.
And we had a very open and honest but that's who we are. My dad, I'm telling you, the man who raised me is very much like you. He'll sit at a table with a perfect stranger and he'll know their entire life story after one beer with them. It's just part of that gift, and I'm so, so grateful for it because it is so powerful. The other thing that comes to me is when we connect with people in that way, as leaders, as team members, even if we just started in a position and we're maybe not in that leadership position, as everyone is a leader. When you do connect with people's hearts, you not only find out about their family and their story and their, where they come from, their culture, but you also find out about their gifts because it becomes so obvious and apparent. And as
Correct.
a leader, you know exactly who to call on. You have an issue, you have something that you're faced with, and you
Correct.
know, who's really good at this? Maybe it's not part of their role, but they love doing this. Like they are the connector, or they are
Correct.
really good public speakers. We should get this person to speak. And I think if teams were to restructure that way, they would be so much more powerful.
As I said, I worked like 30 years ago with this joint venture with the Japanese company. I love the Japanese culture. One of the things the Japanese really do very well is having that type of connection with the people. When they in part of their culture, when they are in a leadership position, they have like connectors, people that you identify them that are the connectors of the leaders, and they use kind of ambassadors. They are connected. And why they do that? Because in their culture, they always want to make decisions having everybody on board.
Oof.
It's part of their culture. They call it the wa. That is the wa is the harmony. So they things on harmony. And that is really powerful because now you can, what you said, you can find a person that had some skills that you will need. You could go and connect directly with that person.
That's right.
That is not, in the Western culture, it's not very popular.
No, not at
Not
all.
very popular because we're very, I'm the boss, and
That's
then
right. Very
I
hierarchical.
yes,
Yes.
that why that word for in the Japanese culture, because they go in that direction.
That's right.
I let me tell you, I embrace it so much that I begin to use it part of my skills. So sometimes people get mad with me because if I needed somebody, I went directly to the source. So I had like 3 managers on the road. I skipped them and went directly to the source. And then sometimes the manager came to me, "Oh, Mr. Pereira, I heard that you talked directly with blah, blah, blah. Why didn't you?" Come on, my friend. I called him because I knew he had the skills.
It's going to
And
take a month by the time the telephone reaches the telephone game.
I called directly.
Yeah. No, I love that. Absolutely. So what I was reminded is, in our health, sorry to interrupt. Yeah,
No, I'm not saying that you have to skip the governance. You have to
of
skip it.
course.
But at some point, when you have these type of decisions,
Relationship.
you can go directly. You
Yeah.
can go
Yeah. When someone has a skill that yes, absolutely, that you need. Yeah, 100%. It's funny you talk about, I hear about Wu Wei. Wu Wei is one thing that, I showed my son a video the other day about harmony, but we're moving towards from voting into a collaborative decision-making process. And there's a lot of change resistance around that, because people are accustomed to the
difficult
hierarchy.
because
Yeah.
sometimes you take the decision and you execute. No, in the Japanese culture, that's why I love so much that culture. All the decision has to be in harmony.
That's
Everybody
right.
has board. Sometimes they delay the decision, but when they take the decision, it's a strong decision
Yes.
because everybody's on board.
Yes. But from the spiritual perspective, the way that I see that and the way that I actually saw my calling into this space is to call people forward to share their voice. Because if you didn't have a purpose at this table, you wouldn't be here. Your voice is important, every single person. And we have different personalities in the room. And until now, in this hierarchical sort of system, the bigger, louder voices always dominate. And that shouldn't be the case. Everybody
Right.
should have their way of communicating. Maybe it's anonymously on a paper on feedback, and then you bring that to the table and then they feel more confident. But there has to be a structure in which you're wasting time, money, energy for someone to be at the table and for their voice not to be heard. And they have a
Correct.
very good point. Otherwise, you're going to be doing quality improvement on what you would have learned from them, from the
Correct.
decision you make, and the outcomes that follow because you didn't hear their voice. And so I just, I love that. And I love that it's harmony, right? That's that's it. It's harmony. Yeah, creating harmony. So as a leader, I guess if you could leave one message for listeners who are really inspired by you, who, maybe if you were to talk to Jose 20, 30 years ago, and were to encourage him from the learnings that you have now, what would you say? What would be that most important pivotal, what's the essence? What's the essence behind it?
The essence are basically that when you have a dream, you have to pursue it. You have to pursue it, never give up to that dream. So, as a leader, for example, if you're in a startup or you're beginning your business or you are in your business trying to build it up, pursue it. No matter how much time you have setbacks or failure, because don't see the failure as a problem. See it as opportunity,
Absolutely.
and move on, move on,
It's a
move on.
lesson, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, we get to learn and grow and evolve. I
yeah,
love that. Yeah. If it's your vision, this is the way that I say it is, if it's your vision, it's already been given to you. It's
yeah.
already yours.
It, go for it. Yeah,
Yes,
go.
I love that. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Jose. Thank you for your resilience. Thank you for your leadership in the space that you were able to hold and support other people to survive through this extremely difficult situation. Thank you for your reflections for all of us that tend to sit in our own mental, physical, or emotional, spiritual jail cell from time to time, in our world.
And
Thank you for giving us that hope and that glimmer,
anybody,
that, oh, so powerful.
if anybody in your audience, in your community, if resonate what I'm talking and they feel that they need any advice, I'm really open to that.
I love that. How can people find you if they want to work with you or talk with you, connect with you?
Well, I'm very active in LinkedIn, and you can find me in LinkedIn. By the way, in LinkedIn, I do several things. I have a newsletter that's called Building Resilience. I do post a video, masterclass, audio room. I did yesterday my audio room with my therapist. That was that the theme was can I make it after the trauma?
I
And she's
saw that.
she is a trauma specialist, and
Wow.
right. It's funny because she's a trauma specialist, but it was the first time doing this alive. So I'm
Wow.
coaching her.
Wow. Well, thank you for bringing those voices
Yeah,
to the table and to share.
tell you, the audio room yesterday was like a collective therapy. It was amazing.
Wow.
And I can, and also I have my webpage, the Jose Connect, www.jose Connect. You can find me there. But in LinkedIn, I'm very, very open there. You can connect there. And even if you want to schedule a call, I have my calendar there. So
Thank
you can,
you. Thank you for being so available and easy to connect with, because that's how we connected. It was through LinkedIn.
I believe that this is the way that we can help others.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Jose, do you mind before we go to tell us about your book? What's the name? How can we find
Oh,
it?
yes. Sorry with the conversation. Yeah, my
Yeah.
book go out maybe in 3 weeks. The name is From Hero to Billion: The True Story of the Citgo Six. Because as you know, we were collectively called the Citgo Six. That was the name the press put us because we worked with to Citgo Petroleum. We were 6 guys, so they combined and we became the Citgo Six.
They have to make
We
it dramatic somehow.
we're gonna create a rock band called the Citgo Six in the
Nice.
future.
You have the press anyway, so we might as well.
Yeah, maybe the book is gonna be the cover of the
Of the rock band. I
yeah.
love it. Oh, amazing. Well, I can't wait to read it. I think there are probably going to be so many amazing pearls, moments where I'm sure many people can identify.
I can tell you, people that read my book, they're gonna have some shocking moment because it's based on the letters the things that I was feeling in that moment, situation we were going in that moment, and well, it's what it is. It's
Yeah,
what it is.
it's real life. You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much resilience. Jose, thank you so, so much. I'm going to call you Uncle Jose from now on. I feel you're my family, and I completely understand why everybody remembers you. Thank you so, so much for your love, your inspiration, your conscious leadership. Truly, you are such a gift. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Release.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
Bye.
Take care.